Lake George Battlefield Moments, a production of Lake George Battlefield Park Alliance, preserving our area's incredible history. Here's historian Dr. Bruce Venter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bruce Venter. I am a trustee of the Lake George Battlefield Alliance and have been known recently as the mayor of Diamond Island. We have here today our president of the Lake George Battlefield Alliance, John DiNuzzo. John has been doing a terrific job with the Alliance. We have many successful programs and publications and museum. Our enrollment and membership is skyrocketing. But today, John's going to hone down into his keynote event for the 250th season as we kick it off here. So tell us a little bit what you have planned in December, John.
Thank you, Bruce. It's not only me, but it's our board of trustees, such as yourself, that have...
You're too humble.
I'm not too humble. I realize it's a team effort, and great partners like 93.5 Lake FM and many others. We have over 300 members now. December the 12th, we're going to have a series of tributes to Henry Knox. December of this year is the 250th anniversary of his Noble Artillery Train, where he took 60 tons of artillery from Ticonderoga all the way to Boston, helped George Washington scare the British out of Boston for the duration of the Revolution. But we've got 3 specific programs on December 12th I want to tell you about.
And what are they?
Okay, well, first off, we're going to have a reenactment of Knox's arrival at the head of Lake George. About 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, December the 12th, we will have a Knox reenactor in a replica bateau landing at the head of Lake George and being transported down Fort George Road, where he actually stayed for over 2 weeks in December of 1775, and transport him in a cart with a draft horse and a replica cannon to kind of commemorate that part of his program. We're also going to have Walt Adams of 93.5 Lake FM hosting kind of an educational fair in the park at that point to let people know the background of Knox's story, why he was doing it. We'll have a fife and drum duo from the Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra and a whole set of reenactors to kind of, again, educate the public on what's happening.
Now, you're going to provide mittens and scarves and all for Walt?
Well, you know, Henry Knox did not have even hand warmers when he did this 250 years ago. So whatever the weather holds for this December the 12th, we'll be ready for. People should dress appropriately for the weather, but the duration of this event will probably be about an hour outdoors, so it shouldn't be too difficult for people to withstand.
And then what happens after that?
Well, exciting news. We have a friend of yours, Rick Atkinson, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. His latest book, The Fate of the Day, landed #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for nonfiction when it was released in the spring. He will be here at Lake George at a reception we're holding at the Holiday Inn, 4:30 that day, 4:30 about 6:30 on that day. We're releasing tickets for this event. There'll be a limited number of tickets available to meet Rick, get a copy signed of The Fate of the Day, and kind of rub elbows with him and ask him questions. Bruce, I know, will be there. He'll also be available for questions as well.
You better hope that there's not a blizzard. I'll be driving 11 hours the day before.
Hitch a ride with Rick. He'll be coming up from D.C., so.
Yeah, he'll be flying on a private jet.
Anyway, so that's a major thing, in terms of our celebration of Knox. Again, he spent so much time at Lake George early in this trek. We just thought it's appropriate to commemorate him in a special way. So people get to meet Rick Atkinson. If you purchase your ticket before November the 12th, will be $50, which includes a book signed by the author that retails for $42. We'll have food, non-alcoholic drinks, and so forth for people to enjoy, in addition to the banner with these historians.
Oh, so there won't be any bar for those of us who are cold?
There will be a bar for people which wish to purchase drinks, but we will not provide the drinks for the $50.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Yeah. I just found out that Knox's favorite drink was rum. I verified that with the Knox biographer, Phil Hamilton. And so I think we should make something of that.
Bruce, you're always on the cutting edge of history research, and we appreciate this. Are you actually sampling the rum that Knox left behind?
I'm going to try it. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the second element of the program on December the 12th. The third will be a public, meet Rick Atkinson event at the Lake George Junior Senior High School auditorium that night at 7 o'clock. Rick and you, I think, will be engaged in a dialogue. The people who attend can ask questions of Rick. They can purchase his book there if they didn't attend the reception, or purchase other Rick Atkinson books as well as part of that. So it's a kind of a big time celebration at Lake George, kind of reinforcing the important role that Lake George played in the Revolution very early on. And to have Rick Atkinson here I think is really special.
Well, I just want to tell our listeners that if you have not heard Rick Atkinson give a presentation, you're in for a real treat. He is a marvelous speaker. I have had Rick 2 times at my premier conference on the American Revolution that takes place in Virginia, and he just does a superb job. So that's really good.
Yeah, there's one other element of this day.
Yes, I want you to tell us about that. I was going to remind you.
It's not for the public, but I think it kind of reiterates just how important this day is and how Rick Atkinson approaches American history. On that day, December the 12th, he's going to spend the day at Lake George schools talking to the students who have been assigned over the summer to read Rick Atkinson's books. He's written a number, again, award-winning books on World War II as well as the Revolution. Part of the assignment for the students over the summer has been to read selected books, depending on the grade level of the children, that pertain to those 2 wars. And Rick will be in the classroom with them on that day, December the 12th, engaging them and hopefully encouraging them and their interest in history, particularly to come to the reenactment of Knox later that day and other events we have planned.
And I just want to mention to our listeners that those of you who enjoy World War II and Rick's trilogy on World War II, bring your books with you, and I'm sure that Rick would be happy to sign them for you. Absolutely. And it would be a great time to get a signed copy by Rick Atkinson. And, of
Definitely.
course, the Fate of the Day will be signed when you go to the afternoon event, and you can buy Rick a rum.
So, yes, I will emphasize again, the only cost to people attending will be for that reception, out of necessity, with getting dinner food, basically, and soft drinks, as well as a signed copy of The Fate of the Day. The other 2 events at the Lake George Battlefield Park at the head of the lake and also at the high school in the evening are free and open to the public.
Now, can you just mention the other counties that are involved in this weekend of celebrating 250 years ago with Henry Knox?
Yes, happy to. In fact, our day on December 12th will be preceded the previous weekend. Both Crown Point Historic Site and Fort Ticonderoga will be doing their own Knox commemoration events. So ultimately, Knox's journey from Ticonderoga all the way to Boston will be replicated in various stages. So as I said, the following weekend, December the 12th, is exclusively at Lake George. The following morning, December the 13th, there will be a parade, let's say, at Fort Edward, from Fort Edward to Fort Miller in Washington County, and associated activities there, again, to educate the folks. That's part of Knox's route. Similarly, in the afternoon that day, there will be a replica of Knox's Noble Artillery train transported from Fort Miller to Schuylerville, then known as Saratoga, where Knox stayed during his journey south. There'll be a series of events at Schuylerville on the afternoon of December the 13th. Then on Sunday the 14th, we'll continue the progression of the cavalcade, if you will, from Peebles Island in Waterford across the bridge into Cohoes and Albany County, where there'll be a handoff, basically, of what the Knox train is doing at the Van Skyke Mansion in Cohoes. I know that's a favorite of yours, Bruce.
Yes, I've been there several times. And
then later that day, at Schuyler Mansion in Albany, there will be a commemoration of Knox. He actually stayed and beseeched Philip Schuyler for assistance to help him find the horses, the oxen, the carts, and the teamsters, basically, the people who would help him to move the artillery all the way from upstate New York and northern New York all the way to Boston. And Schuyler was a key part of that.
I would encourage our listeners to participate in the entire weekend, because there are sleds that were made by the students at the Saratoga Washington Warren BOCES. 2 sleds were made. They are magnificent. They look like the real thing that Henry Knox used in 1775-76. They have some draft horses that'll pull the sleds. They've got replica cannon available. It's going to be a great, great show of what happened 250 years ago and why it's important to remember what Henry Knox did in this area in that time period.
Great point about the sleds, too. So we will be using the sleds, or a sled, produced by the Boseys, as will Washington and Saratoga counties. We'll also be using draft horses. A local Caldwell Carriage, based on the east side of Lake George, is providing us with a draft horse to actually transport our actor who's playing Henry Knox that day. So it'll be a very realistic kind of event, as well as an enjoyable one.
And I think people should know that it's very accurate that we're using draft horses on this part of the journey. Henry Knox really didn't use oxen until he got over to the Berkshire Mountains, and he had to get over the mountains, and he needed the oxen because they had to hold the sleds back and then pull them forward and what have you. And so we're very accurate in the fact of using the draft animals. And
we'll be educating, as part of this day's activities, just the challenges. I mean, in and of itself, transporting 60 tons of cannon and of various sizes all that way is an enormous task. But there were weather challenges as well. As Henry Knox moved south himself on Lake George, the lake hadn't frozen yet, but there were ice flows in the lake. He actually lost a cannon temporarily on the journey south on Lake George. And then he got to Lake George, and there was no snow until Christmas Day. So, I mean, transporting these rugged and heavy artillery, 60 tons worth, over muddy ground would have been disastrous. So he had to deal with that. The snow came ultimately and helped. And then there were problems. They crossed the river, I think, the Hudson River, 4 different times, and actually lost a cannon at one point. So Henry Knox was a 26-year-old guy given this task and this opportunity by Washington. It's just an amazing story, and we'll be sharing it.
Now, do you have someone assigned to make sure that the reenactor doesn't fall out of the bateau? Because he's supposed to be kind of a heavy guy, right?
I believe that assignment went to one Bruce M. Venter.
I don't know about that. If I get up here, I'll help you out.
Or Molly Brandt, one or the other. Again, folks, so I want to encourage people to get your tickets early. There's a $10 discount if you purchase the tickets by November the 12th. It'll be $50 for your food, your signed copy of Rick Atkinson's Fate of the Day. You can go to our website, lakegeorgebattlefield.org, and on the homepage, we'll give you full instructions on how you can purchase that online or how you can send in money to attend.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, John. That's a great information for everyone.
Lake George Battlefield Moments, a production of Lake George Battlefield Park Alliance, preserving our area's incredible history. For more information or to check out the latest podcast, go to lakegeorgebattlefield.org and listen live on Saturday mornings at 9:40 a.m. to Lake George Battlefield Moments on 93.5 Lake FM.